All right, great. So Casey, it's great to meet you. Thank you for coming on the podcast. So tell us who you are and what you do.
Hey, good to meet you too, man. I'm Casey. I man, I've been in this kind of industry a long time. Been way back in the day. I was living in Seattle, and I ran the Inner Circle group for RSD in Seattle for a couple of years. Then I moved out to Vegas, and I started coaching under the RSD program for Luke's immersion program.
Yeah.
And then I just kind of started traveling and doing a lot more in the photography, videography world. And to where I am now, where I'm living out here in Medellin right now, I'm in this big 19-bedroom mansion up in this incredible this spot up here with basically influencer events every other week and kind of doing some big things up here in Medellin. So it's been a long journey, but it's been fun. And yeah.
Yeah. So like, how did you got started with all of that from back in the day, like when you were in RSD? So how did you got into this space?
Yeah, man. I think I read the book The Game way back in the day, the
Yeah.
original book, and yeah, that shit just blew my mind. I was like, I was coming from this idea that trying to figure out how to be good with women, and it just didn't make sense. Like it was so fucking stressful. You'd go out and you'd go try to talk to a girl, and it's just like you'd just be like shaking. And it was nice to like read a book and have it basically tell you, hey, you can fix this. There's specific things you can do and say that will make you more attractive as a guy. And it kind of just changed my entire philosophy, because once you realize you can change that about yourself, you start to realize that you can change other aspects of yourself, your health, your wealth, your lifestyle, and all of those things are more in your control, because now you realize that because I can control this one thing, I can actually control everything. And it gets you out of this
Yeah.
mindset of like everything happening to you, and you start affecting the world around you.
Oh, nice. So like, how did you kind of uh, incorporate that mindset, like when you work? Like how do you kind of add that to your life and start working?
Yeah, I mean, is like when it comes to taking this mindset of that you can change who you are and how you interact with the world, and applying it, you basically become this type of person who is being a force onto the world rather than the world being a force upon you. You start
Yeah.
interacting with things and seeing things in a different, instead of me being like, oh, I can only make this much money because this is what my employer is paying me, or thinking, oh, I can only, be this healthy because this is how I've been taught my entire life. Instead, you're learning that you can change literally everything in your life. You can become as successful as you want, you can become as healthy as you want, you can become as good with women as you want. And that mindset alone allows you to become the best version of yourself that you can be. And it may take a while, and this is a long journey for me. I've been doing this for probably around 10 years now, and still
Okay.
to this day I'm like every year I feel like I become the like next best version of myself. But sometimes you feel like you have to take a couple steps backwards in order to like go even further, because for example, in the pickup community, there's a lot of bad things that they kind of teach. It's not like bad, but it's not necessarily the best mentality for you to have going forward in your life. But as you kind of grow through these paradigms uh, and grow in who you are, and you learn these things, you're able to pick and choose what things were good and keep those things, and what things were bad and kind of get rid of them. And as you grow, you kind of pick and choose on your path up to where you want to be as a person. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
kind of a journey.
So so you mentioned kind of like kind of you call it bad advice. So like kind of like, let's say, like what kind of ideas that you say that are like not that kind of helpful or like not useful.
So what
What?
was the question?
Yeah. So
Sorry,
you talk
say the
about like,
question again.
yeah. I'm saying that the advice that you talked about that in the pickup community, so there are not so helpful advices there. So like, can you elaborate more on that?
Okay. Um, yeah, I mean, one of the things that I would say is like one of the worst mentalities that you gain in the pickup community is this kind of this idea that it's all or nothing. It's like, okay, if this girl doesn't respond to my text message, I'm done with her. I'm never going to text her again. I'm moving on to the next one. Whereas in my life, once I started developing these like skills and kind of building the lifestyle that I wanted, I started to realize that like it doesn't matter if this person texts me today or texts me tomorrow. It just matters that they're in my pipeline, that they are someone that knows me and that I'm consistently offering value to them. So I went from like texting a girl, "Hey, do you want to come get a coffee with me?" and her being like, "Hey, I'm busy," or not responding, or saying, "Hey, sorry, I'm not interested," or whatever she said, and me being like, okay, I'm not going to text this girl anymore. I delete her number and I move on to the next. To now, I'll be like, my text message will be like, hey, come to this really amazing event that we're doing on such and such date with such and such influencer doing this and this and this. And now, even if she says, hey, sorry, I can't make it, I'm like, hey, no worries. Let me know when you can come to the next event, or let me know when you're free. And then a week or a month later, I might send her another text that's like, hey, now we're doing this event. Do you want to come to this one? And this time she's free and available. And she's like, yeah, fuck yeah, I'd love to. I'd love to come out to the Wish Mansion in Vegas, or your mansion in Colombia, or this place in fucking wherever you're at right now. Yeah, for sure. Send me the details and I'm down to go. So it's no longer a like one or zero. It's like it's no longer it's either success or no success. It's just everything is like funneling into like something cool that I'm going to do with this person eventually. And it doesn't have to happen today, it doesn't have to happen tomorrow. It could happen in a year from now. But as long as I consistently offer value to these people in my life that I want to be in my life, they will eventually come
Yeah.
out. They will eventually do things with me, and I'll eventually get to enjoy their presence. And whatever happens when they show up happens, you know. So that
Yeah.
was the biggest mindset shift that I made, was like not thinking that I had to like get the result immediately. Like I had to, and because like if you think about it, a lot of these girls like dude, they already have a guy they may be seeing. They already are. Maybe they really are busy. They are doing stuff. They have all these things in their lives, especially if they're really attractive or like these high status girls. Like they're going to be doing cool shit already. So you asking them to go to coffee with you is like so low on their priority list that it doesn't even matter how much they like you. They will probably not say yes. Versus
Okay.
if you invite them to something that they are already wanting to do anyways, most likely, which like, for example, like the New Year's Eve Wish Mansion party I did, where I brought 60 girls to that party in a bus, like in a party bus, over 60 girls. Like it was shoulder to shoulder of like gorgeous models. And you can see I have a little clip of it posted somewhere. But
Okay.
it's just it's like a zooming shot like through the bus of like all the girls, and it's just like shoulder to shoulder girls in this giant ass party bus that we also got for free because we agreed to do video for them and stuff. So like, and a lot of those girls I had invited to other things and they had said no. And then I invited them to the Wish Mansion party and they were like, fuck yeah, flying in from other places out of the country to come to this amazing party. So yeah, hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like a kind of a business funnel that you like. You have people that would be coming in that they might be at kind of a different place that in the funnel. So like you just didn't have to like go fast forward and kind of hit a wall there. So let's say now we talk about kind of throwing parties. So let's kind of elaborate on that. Let's talk about like the New Year's Eve party or any kind of events that you do. Like how do you plan the stuff? Like how do you kind of go about doing something like
Yeah. So, I mean, I would say I like always kind of enjoyed doing events. Even back in the day before I kind of even learned social circle stuff, like I was always the person kind of organizing the event. So you don't have to have access to this like crazy, insane mansion, $1 million production party in order to have an epic event. Like I would do in the beginning, I would do a bonfire on the beach once a week during the summer.
Oh,
And I would just invite every single girl that I met during that week and that I had met in all time, and just invite them all to the event. And like it was so simple. I would have a guy, he would bring firewood. I would have a guy who would bring like food, and have a guy who brought drinks. It would be me and like two or three other guys. And usually I was the one that would bring like 20, 30 girls to this thing. And we'd all just be hanging out around a bonfire, relaxing, watching the sunset during the summer. And it was a beautiful, fun time. And it became really well known that like these bonfires that I set up were like really fun to go to. So people would start bringing their friends, and it went from like probably 5 or 6 people to like 50, 60, 70 people. And just through consistency. So you don't even need to be doing this crazy thing. As long as you're doing something consistent, that's fun, that's cool, that's different, like you can kind of be creative with it. But you can do many different things. Like if you're in Vegas, you can do comp tables, you can do comp dinners, you can do photo shoot events, you can do little private parties. You can do a bunch of stuff. But the key thing is that you do it consistently and that you do it well, so that people trust you. And the more that you do something, the more people are going to trust in what you're doing, because especially if the optics of what you do is good, you will have people trust you more. So when we did our last, I don't know if you watch my Instagram that much, when we did the last event here in Medellin with Joey Wright, like all of the content produced from there looks really high end, really professional, really well done. All of the stories and everything that everybody was posting, it looks like a really fun time. And now on the next time we do this event, we're going to have so much trust built up because of the event videos, because of who we did it with, the influencers we did it with, that now everybody else is going to trust us even more to actually come out here and do it with us again. So the more you do it and the better you do it and the more consistently good you do it, the better results you'll get from those things. So.
yeah, for sure. So, like, how did you choose, like, so how's your, like, kind of life in Medellin, like, and, like, why did you choose to stay in the city, and, like, how's your life there?
In Medellin?
Yeah,
You're asking about Medellin? Yeah, okay. Yeah, I came here a while back, and like I'll be honest, if you're a guy and you're looking to kind of get into, if you're a guy and you want the best life that you can live while not spending $50,000 a month, Medellin's a great city. You can get an insane apartment, place to rent for, you know, the quality of place that you would get for the price is going to be 5 to 10x what you would get in a city like Miami, New York, Austin, Vegas, LA. So you're gonna get a nice place, and the girls are incredible here. Like they're beautiful, they are very feminine, they are very like fun, sexual. Like it's the perfect, like the women here are just perfect. Like all of the traits that you would want in a woman is like who they are here. They just exist like that. Versus in the United States, like I'd been in Vegas, I had dated some of like the top models in Vegas, and like lived in probably one of the coolest places you could live in Vegas, and like I just was tired of it. Like I got tired of the mentality of women out there where they feel the need to be like, you know, independent women and don't need a man, and they're feminists and they're vegans and they're like all this fucking bullshit that is just, it's so unattractive to me as a man that I was so tired of it. So I came to the city with the intent of kind of finding a girl that I could spend more time with, and while at the same time being able to focus on my business and my work more. So when I'm out kind of chasing girls and like dating a lot and like and like kind of doing the pickup thing where I'm like going and talking to multiple women, partying more, all that stuff, like my business and my health usually falters. So being out here, I've kind of picked a girl that I like that's helping me in my life. Like every day I wake up, my bed is made, breakfast is cooked, coffee is on my table. Like, and I don't ask for it. Like, I don't ask her to do those things. Like, I don't want to have to ask someone to like be an amazing part of my life. I am here providing my value. Money, being successful. Like, she gets to live in this beautiful mansion. She gets to enjoy everything about this life that I've built up, and she just takes care of the things that I don't want to take care of. Making sure the house is nice, everything is comfy and cozy, and also being bisexual, she likes girls as well. So all the girls, they hit the traits that you would want in a woman, and it allows me to completely 100% focus on my business. Like I put 95% of my thought into my business, and then like a little bit of thought into my health and making sure I go to the gym, and the rest of my thought, like the rest of everything else, is just taken care of. Like she even helps me run my business. Like right now she's back here organizing footage from my drone videos that I have, so that I can take those drone videos, edit them, and put them on one of my like more cinematic video pages that I run. So like, and I'm paying her a little bit of money for the work she's doing, but like to have someone in your life that makes your life better and that increases your productivity rather than decreasing your productivity, which I feel like every girl in the US decreases your productivity. They want to go to the yacht party. They want to go to the mansion party. They want to go do drugs. They want to drink. They want to fucking do this. They don't want to help you in any way. They don't want to, like, they're not going to get up and like make the bed and like, do the dishes, do the laundry, take care of things. They're going to get up and go fucking run their OnlyFans or go work their job, and then they're going to come back and like live the normal way. So it's just a different type of woman here, and for me it literally fits exactly like the puzzle piece that I needed in my life to make my life more productive and more effective, if that makes sense.
Okay, nice. So it kind of you see like a kind of a different like kind of a polarity between the women in US and like women in Colombia. It's like so in Colombia it's like more uh, like what you expected kind of, and what you needed from a woman. So that's what I understand. So yeah, let's talk about kind of photography and your kind of career as a photographer. So like, how did you get started with that, and like how's it going now?
Yeah, like, dude, photography and videography is my like fully my passion. It's the thing that I enjoy doing the most in my life. Like, I'm a long time ago I ran a business, and I was pretty successful. I was probably making like 10K a month in my business. Like everything was going pretty well, but I was working 18 hours a day. And by the end of like 2 years of running that business, I was the most depressed I think I've ever been in my life. I was so fucking exhausted from doing something that I was not passionate about personally. So after I did that, I was like, okay, I'm taking a break from my business. I kind of like put the business on autopilot, let it kind of like, it basically, I just set it on this trajectory downward and let it go while I focused on other things. Um, and so I started really like trying to figure out exactly what and who I wanted to be in my life. And by trying a bunch of different things, I basically was able to be like, okay, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. I don't like this. I don't like this. And by figuring out the things that I don't want to do, I was able to hone in more on the things that I do want to do. So photography, when I found it, it kind of hit all of the check boxes in my life of something that I would want to do long term. So I'm pretty naturally introverted, and I'm very logical, and like, but at the same time I like being creative. So photography and videography requires you to go out in person and film and do things in real life with people. So one of the things that my other business was doing is I was just sitting in my desk all day, every day, not talking
Yeah.
to anyone, and being fucking an introvert, and it made me super depressed. But with videography and photography, I'm always going out. I'm always having to do something in the real world while also being able to be my introverted self, sit at my computer, edit videos, edit photos, have very like logical reasoning, like, oh, I'm going to use this technique to edit this video, this photo. And then also I get to hit my creative side. Like, I'm not like the most creative person, but like there's this aspect of creativity that once you get into that flow of being creative, it's a very enjoyable experience when you create something that you're actually proud of and that you worked hard on, and that it took you thinking outside the box and creating in your own way, like, and kind of, what's a good way to say this, like showing the world how you see things through your art. And it's just a really enjoyable experience. So it was hitting pretty much every single box. The only thing it wasn't hitting in the beginning was money, but I had this internal belief and faith in myself that if I sit down and I become the absolute best that I can be at this thing, that I will make money at it. Because no matter what, like, no matter what the profession is, if you're the best at it or one of the best at it, you will get paid for it. Like, it doesn't matter what it is. Like, you could be the absolute best at collecting baseball cards. And if you're the best at it, you're going to make money at it. You could be the best at, I don't know, some random skill that nobody would think anything of. But when you're the best at it, when you're the most knowledgeable, the highest level expert at it, people come to you for that thing. So, and videography and photography is a very big niche. It's not like it's a super tiny niche. So I knew that like there would be plenty of opportunity as long as I built my skill and became the best at it. I would absolutely make money at it. And this year I've made more money than ever at it. So, every year I've almost doubled my like salary in the past like 2 3 years. Every year I've kind of doubled it. So,
Okay.
just working for different people. So yeah.
So, let's say, like, how did you kind of start learning that? Like, any kind of resources you learned from, or any kind of courses you did, or like you just learned by yourself?
Yeah. So, the first thing I did when I started photography was I went in and I um, did a photo shoot every single week. So
Okay.
I was still kind of working. I had to make money other ways because I wasn't doing full-time photography yet. So every single week for an entire year, I did a photo shoot with whoever would want to come over and shoot photos. So
Yeah.
I would message 100, 200, 300 different people, and like two or three or four or five people would show up, and I'd do photos with them. And so by doing that every single week and practicing my shooting, my editing, like I didn't even have a good camera back then. I had a T2i, which is like $150 camera body, and like a $300-400 lens that I bought, and a tripod. And that was about it. That was all my gear. And
Okay.
I went from that and I just shot, and I just tried new things, and I just figured it out. I used a lot of YouTube. Like, I think the best way to learn in general is to not, you don't really want to go and just, like, I think getting the basics is important, like understanding
Yeah.
basics of a field of study is important. You need to know, like, hey, what does the ISO do? What does the aperture do? You need to know what you don't know first. And then you just kind of start going down the path of troubleshooting. So instead of being like, oh, I'm going to try to learn everything at once, it's like, okay, I'm going to learn this little the basics, get a solid grasp of the basics,
Yeah.
and then I'm going to go. And then when I run into a problem, I'm going to solve that problem. I'm going to figure out how to. So, like, I would take photos and, okay, what do I need to do next on a photo? Okay, so now I'm at my computer. I have it uploaded in Photoshop. Okay, well, she has like all these splotches on her skin. Well, I should probably learn how to fix those the best way possible. Okay, how do I retouch the skin? Okay, cool. Watch a couple YouTube videos on it. Start learning how to do it. Cool. Okay, now I've retouched your skin. Okay, okay, how to make the colors better? How to color grade the photo? Okay, watch a few videos on that. And as you go, you just kind of add another tool to your toolbox. And so instead of like trying to shove all the tools in at once, you only grab the tool that you need at that time, and then you learn how to use that tool really well. And then once you've learned how to use that tool like really well, you can put it in your toolbox, and anytime you need that tool, you can just pull it out and use it really efficiently. Versus having a bunch of tools in your toolbox that you have very little knowledge on how to use. Like that's kind of useless. Like you could buy all the tools in the world if you have a very low level knowledge of how to use the tool properly, there's no point in having those tools in your toolbox. So I think a lot of people do this with reading books as well. They just read books for the sake of reading books. And I'm like, okay, you're just throwing as many tools in your toolbox as possible. Like that's not really applicable to your life. I would rather sit down and watch one 10-minute video that is directly applicable to something that I'm trying to learn in that moment rather than read a book where 90% of that book is inapplicable to my life and I only get 10% of it. And I used all this time,
Yes.
hours of reading this book versus 10 minutes on this exact thing that I need. Not saying that reading books are bad, but like it can be a waste of your time when you're just reading books for the sake of reading books. So as you grow, I just kind of kept putting the tools in my toolbox, and then I just kept trying to do bigger and better things. So like I started throwing photo shoot events. So me and Sartain, once I felt pretty confident, because I had been doing this for about a year, I'd been shooting for about a year. Sartain reached out to me and was like, hey, this was the beginning of COVID. He's like, hey, I have this guy. He wants to do a photo shoot at this mansion. Do you want to come shoot photos with these girls? And that was my first kind of foot in the door into like the real world of shooting with models and high-end models and these high-end mansions and stuff. Because before that, I'd been at just my apartment or like wherever I wanted to shoot.
Okay.
So I started shooting, and then like one of the good things about me is like I learned networking and social circle stuff first, and like all this game stuff first. And then I was able to go and like all the opportunities and doors that photography opened for me, I was able to like really take advantage of them fully. So still to this day, from that first photo shoot event that I did, I'm still really close with the owner of that mansion. Like he's considering flying out here with a bunch of models to Medellin like very soon. He hits me up every day. Like he'll message me all the time and be like, hey, Casey, it looks like you're doing some cool shit out there. I need to come out there soon. Really successful guy, always surrounded by the hottest women. Like, and to this day, just from one photo shoot event, all I did was I went up to him during the photo shoot event. Like my only goal of that photo shoot event was to figure out who the main guy of the house was and go talk to him. And right as I'm like walking out the door, I go up to him. I'm like, hey man, hey, it's good to meet you. Thank you for having me out here. Hey, if you'd ever like to like throw something like this again, like we could set something up bigger for you. And I'd love to come out and help you with, the video production and all this stuff. At that time, I knew very little about video. I knew very little about setting up events like this. But I offered him the value, and then he was like, sure. And I was like, cool. Fucking hit up the people who I knew and trusted the most in the industry to help me set this up. Called him up and was like, hey, we're ready. Like, let's have a meeting. We set up a meeting. I brought one of the best videographers that I knew. So instead of me being the videographer, I put a videographer in that I trusted to do good work. And then Ashkan Beheshti, like one of the best fucking networkers and organizers of things. He used to run Vegas Dave's channel forever. So I had him organizing the video, and I had one of the best shooters for Vegas Dave shooting the video, all because they were my friends and they didn't charge me anything. And we all went in on this together. And I had Sartain bringing all the girls, and I just went there and shot. So I kind of organized this cool thing. And then through that, I was able to continue to build my skills and build my network and get even crazier opportunities. Like I lived at Ranch Island for a couple of years, which is like the nicest place in Vegas you could live in. It's like it's literally the biggest saltwater pool on the West Coast, thousands of palm trees, 13 waterfalls, models there every day. It was an insane experience, all because I had a semi basic level and understanding of video. And I was able to leverage, like my skills were probably quite a bit lower than the majority of people in the industry at that time.
Yep.
But I was a better networker, so I was able to get access to better opportunities, even though my skills weren't necessarily as good. So because I was a good networker, I was able to network into these opportunities and leverage my video and photography skills a lot harder than other people. But yeah, that's kind of how I learned and grew, and a lot of YouTube and Brandon Lee. There was one course that I bought. It was a guy named Brandon Lee, Brandon Li. He was the only
Okay.
video course I watched, but I watched that guy's video course like it was like the Holy Grail, the Bible. I learned 99% of my video skills from that video or from that course. And then the rest I picked up on YouTube. Like, because the way I learn is that when I run into a problem, is when I use YouTube to kind of solve that problem. So YouTube is a really good tool for that. And that's kind of how I grew my skills. So yeah.
Okay. So, like you talk about kind of like having those social circle skills, so like kind of you call about pickup skills, so everything that would help you in like kind of networking, like when you got the opportunity. So let's talk like what can you do to like be a better networker and like get the kind of have the opportunity to seize the kind of the opportunities you get like when you have a chance.
Sorry, say that one more time. Rephrase the question. What do you ask?
Yeah, so I'm asking is like how can someone be a better networker so that they can take charge of opportunities they would have.
Cool. Yes. Networking is a huge thing, just in life in general. Like the guy I currently work for is a guy that I just networked with.
Yeah.
And he offered me, he literally was like, "Hey, I'll pay you double what you're getting paid right now to come shoot video for me instead." And I was like, "All right, sounds good." The way you get better at networking is by fucking doing it. Like, a lot of people, I think, don't realize the importance of actually going out and talking to strangers. Like, it's so important. I like the first 5 years of my like game experience was just going to bars, going to clubs, and just putting myself in the most uncomfortable situations possible so that when it came to situations where I needed to get results, like I wasn't nervous, I wasn't getting scared, I wasn't shaking, my voice is calm. Like I'm very in control of who I am and very confident in who I am because I've gone out and hit like just gone at it in every way possible. Like I have tried every single like any coach that you know in this industry, I have absolutely tried their style of talking, gaming, breaking rapport, doing game, networking, everything. I've gone through almost every course. Like I've done more learning in that aspect than I've done in video for sure. And by going out there and making mistakes over and over, I call it basically like there's this certain level like it's your comfort level that you play at. So when you start out, you have to go out and make a mistake because the more mistakes you make, the more you're able to like push your base level up. So
Yeah.
a lot of people they like try to incrementally like get better by like doing something slightly different, slightly more. No, I was like, I'm gonna try like yelling at girls from across the room, hand of God, making out with them right away. Like you do all this ridiculous stuff so that you know where your line is, you know where your comfort line is. Because the most important thing for you to do when you're actually networking is to play one level below your risk level. So the higher your base level of comfort is, the higher level you can play at when you're playing the one level below. And the reason you play one level below is because you don't want to make a mistake when you're in like high status situations. Like I don't want to go to, be in the billionaire's house and like hand of God accidentally like, and pick up on his girlfriend. So like by playing one level below, the first thing I might ask is, "Oh, how do you know everybody here?" Like I might ask a girl, "Hey, how do you know everybody here?" And she's like, "Oh, I'm dating that guy, the owner of the house." And it's like, okay, don't hit on that guy. Like, don't hit on that girl, obviously. Um, Whereas if you're at a bar, you're able to make all these mistakes. You can like reach out, grab a girl's hand, spin her around. Her boyfriend is 2 feet away. He gets mad. And then you're like, "Oh, sorry." And you like jet out, and there's zero consequences to your social life. So by going out and making all these mistakes, you can basically keep yourself from making the mistakes when it like counts, when it matters, and while also playing at a high level because there's plenty of people who could just not make a mistake. You could just sit in the corner and just not say anything, and by playing like at too low of a level, you're also making a mistake. Like that's a
Yes,
mistake
yes,
in and of itself, not even playing in the game. Like you're just like sitting out of the game. You're like, well, I'm not making any mistakes, so I'm doing good. It's like, no, you're not playing. Like you're not even part of this. So you have to play the game at as high a level as possible while not fucking up, while not going too far. Or being so calibrated that even if you did fuck up, you're just such a calibrated person that you're able to flip it around and turn it into your favor. Like there's plenty of times, and this is a huge key, that a thing that you learn when you're gaming is how to flip things around. So like
yeah,
you may say something that offends the girl, and she's like, "That's offensive. Why'd you say that to me?" And you're like, "You don't like," oh, and you're able to flip it back on her and make it seem like it's her being the weird one and you're being the normal one. And you can do this once you get really good at flipping things around and making it so that you never, even if you make a mistake, you didn't make a mistake. Like once you get good at that, then when you're in a real life situation where you're like, it really fucking matters and you do make a mistake, you're able to calibrate back and turn it into not a mistake. So all of these things you learn through going out to bars, going out to clubs, going out and talking to thousands and thousands of people and becoming successful at that, so that you can take and transfer those skills into networking in real life with really high status people who it's important not to make a mistake with. If that makes sense.
okay. So you talk about kind of flipping the situation. So like, what does that entail? Like, how can kind of someone today progress?
For flipping it around back on them.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So the biggest way to do it is by turning it into a joke.
Okay,
Now, like it's honestly it's weird being like on a podcast talking about serious topics and me doing like a break and rapport and like trying to flip it back. But the basic gist of it is like, you say something like, um, God, what would be an example? You like tease a girl, maybe you're like, let's say you just tease a girl and you say something, and then she's like, oh, why'd you say that? And then you're able to be like, you just turn it into a joke. Basically, it's like you could even just say simply like, "Hey, I'm just kidding. Oh, I was just kidding. I was just joking. No, I wasn't talking about you. I was talking about blah 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 blah." You can flip it around so many ways, but it's so contextual and it comes from the experience of doing it in person so many times. And I'm sure there's like better ways to explain it. I just have kind of gone past that point of like it's kind of just who I am as a person, and I just do it naturally now versus like back in the day having to think about it. So back in the day, I would have probably explained it way better to you and been like, "Oh, you say that she says this, and then you say this," but now I'm like, okay, she says this, and like it doesn't even register in my brain. My brain just goes in autopilot and says like the thing that like fixes the situation, which I don't even make mistakes that often. So it's like it's very rare that I even need to fix the situation, but like my brain
okay,
automatically knows what to say. But the most important thing is that you go out and you make those mistakes in places that don't matter, so that you can learn how to flip it around on, flip the script on the person that's giving you the shit test or whatever. And you can just look up like shit tests in pickup terminology, and you'll see millions and millions of ways of like reacting to a shit test that is like a good way to react to it, a good way to answer it. But yeah, once you learn that, it's you internal, and that's the biggest thing too, is like you internalize these things. Like you don't want to always have to think about these things. So if you never practice it that often, then you're always going to have to be thinking about how you're going to react to the situation. When the more important thing is like you need to be thinking at the higher level, and all of these other like smaller things need to just be internalized and be done instinctually. Because if you're it's like if a football player, for example, like the center, if he had to always put 100% of his brain power into thinking about how to hike the ball perfectly, then he would miss like 10 other things that are happening around him. Oh, this guy moved over here, so that means he's going to be rushing over here. This guy's going to be coming this way. And so instead of instead of being able to think on the high level, he's just like solely focused on hiking the ball, which causes him to be a worse football player. So you gain all these like micro skills and you internalize them really well so that you don't have to think about them at all. So you're able to think and see things at like a higher level of like, oh, this guy over here and this guy, this guy, this guy. Okay, cool. Talking to this guy, I'm working on this thing. Boom. And instead of thinking about, oh, I have to worry about this girl shit testing me or this guy not liking me, it's like you just stop thinking about the small things and you only look at the big things. And that's the important thing about going out all the time and just learning these skills.
Okay, nice. So you talk about kind of the like resources and any kind of the people you were learning pick up from. So do you have any kind of recommendations? So like if someone wants to learn more about that, yeah, can take it.
For like networking stuff.
Yeah, networking or
Yeah,
dating or
so
what?
Mike,
Yeah.
like I still coach this stuff. I run
Yeah.
a Vegas immersion program with Michael Sartain every 2 months. So Michael Sartain, if
Okay.
you look at Michael Sartain, MICHAEL, um, Sartain, SARTAIN. If you look up him and you sign up for their program and you talk to them, they'll tell you about the immersion program. We have one coming up here on I believe it is February 19th, and that goes for a week until the 26th. And then it will be 2 months from then, and 2 months from then, and 2 months from then. Sartain is incredible. He'll teach pretty much anything that you need to learn regarding that. Um, and then as far as game stuff goes, Patrick Red is also a good guy. I worked for him for last year, basically. Patrick, Gatrick, Red. Um, yeah, so you can go in there and you can kind of reach out to him as well. He does immersion programs out here in Medellin. So Medellin program is out here. The Vegas program is in Vegas, and Sartain does Vegas. Patrick does Medellin. So both of those guys are fucking incredible at teaching this stuff. Better teachers than I am. I tend
Yeah.
to do all the video photography for them, and I teach more social media now, and kind of like how to build your social media properly, so that you can, reach out to girls, guys, or whatever, and have a good network to talk on, which is I teach a lot more about that. Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah. So now we are kind of getting to the end of the podcast. So like before we go, so like if if someone wants to hire a photographer, or if someone wants to meet you and talk to you, how could they find
Yeah, so if they want to reach out to me, right now I'm in Medellin and Las Vegas every 2 months. But they can reach out to me at casey.herzog, CASEY .HERCOG. And yeah, I'm happy to do. I still do lifestyle photography for guys, so that's kind
it?
of
Okay.
one of my big money makers right now. So if they want to get some of the coolest photos in the city at some of the coolest spots, Medellin, I know all the fucking coolest spots they can go to. I'll bring them out, take incredible photos, basically revamp their social media from like 0 to 100. Like they could have no good photos. By the time they're done with me, their entire profile is going to look incredible, and I'll also teach them a little bit about like how to post, how to message, stuff like that. And same within Vegas. I'm only there 1 week every 2 months, and they would need to sign up through Michael Sartain's program. But if they go through Michael Sartain's program, they get a free photo shoot session with me, which is 3 separate sessions actually. One is on the strip, one is at Tivoli Village, and one is at Red Rock Canyon. And we actually rent a sports car, go out to the canyon, get sick photos. So, yeah, if they want to do either of those, reach out to me, let me know, and I will absolutely set it up for you. I'll make sure that we have the absolute best content and a great time, and make sure everything happens. So, yeah, cool.
Okay, nice. Yeah. So the final question is I should ask is what does freedom means to you?
Say that again. What?
What does freedom means to you?
Okay, yeah. So I think it's changed a lot in my life. What freedom means to me, but that's a good question. Um, I think that freedom is truly the ability to do what you want to do in your life. So I think that there's a lot of people that run businesses and they're married to their business. Like my dad, for example, multi-millionaire, runs a multi-million-dollar business, works at his business every single day, has no choice not to work at his business. He just hasn't built his business in a way that it gives him the freedom to do anything that he wants to do. Um, and so one thing that I've done with my life is I've built my business and what I want to do with my life to be the exact same thing. So photography and videography are the things that I would be doing regardless of if I was getting paid or not. So by setting that up in my life, I basically made it so that I have freedom in my life because I'm getting paid to do what I would do anyways. So I think that's the biggest thing for people to figure out is like figure out what the thing is that you would do if you had unlimited money in your life. Like if you were just the richest person in the world, you had money was not an issue. What would you want to do? And figure out how to do that and make money doing that. Because I mean, partying and all that stuff and driving sports cars and all that stuff is fun, but it's not that fulfilling. You do want to find something in your life that like makes you fulfilled, that makes you that you're passionate about, that you can grow in as well, that you can learn skills in. Like every single day, I learn something new in video, something new in photography, and I will sit down and I will just watch YouTube videos some days. I'm just like I'm super into what I'm doing and I fucking love it. And that's the biggest thing. Just like do what you love, regardless of the money, and just have faith in yourself that eventually you will make the money doing it. Because if you truly love something and you're truly passionate about it, you will get good at it. Like there's no way for you not to. Like you get obsessed and you just do it all the time, and you get better at it, and you will make insane money at it, and you'll be way happier than someone who's making money doing something that they don't love doing. So yeah, that's what I'd say. Freedom.
Okay. So, Casey, it's great to meet you. Thank you for coming from the podcast. So, we'll keep in touch. See you.
Good to meet you too, man. Have a good day.
Good day.